found a tube, and the minute I opened it, the smell transported me through time.
This one's wife. She will get away with it if you keep doing this. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The biggest advantage that you gain from watching my videos is that you get to understand narcissism and psychopathy. This will be either because you watch my videos about the subject of narcissism, the pure narcissism videos as I like to call them, explaining about the way that the narcissist manipulates, why the narcissist does what he or she does, why the narcissist doesn't call you back, what hoovering is, what wounding of the narcissist is, what fuel does, all videos such as that. There are others of you who perhaps don't access those videos to the extent that you ought to and prefer to learn through the celebrity videos that I made, especially in relation to this one's wife. Either way, the expectation is that you gain an understanding about narcissism so that you not only can apply that to your own personal situations, but it helps you understand why this one's wife behaves in the way that she does. I consult with people. Millions of people have been helped by my videos, blogs and books. But I've spoken to thousands of people all around the world from different backgrounds, in different circumstances, to provide them with clear and effective advice in dealing with narcissists. Why am I able to do this? Well, as one myself and aware of that fact, I'm able to understand how my kind functions, ticks and operates. I've grown up with narcissists in my family. I've dealt with them in my professional life. I've dealt with them in my sex life. I've dealt with them in my social life. I have observed. I've drunk in the information about these individuals to understand how the differing types of narcissists function. And as part of the extension of my legacy, I have created all of this material to enable you to understand. And better than anybody else, I understand the way that this one's wife works and functions. And what I'm about to make mention of now is being explained in order to help you understand that there are those who are actually making fundamental mistakes. Whilst their intentions, for the most part, are honest, they are making mistakes which are playing into this one's wife's hands. And if they keep doing this, she'll ultimately get away with it. Many of you listening do not like this one's wife. There'll be some of you that don't like her because you find her an essentially boring individual. There'll be others who can barely keep your contempt for her under wraps as a consequence of various abhorrent behaviours that she's engaged in. Whether you regard it as a consequence of her awful treatment of Prince Harry, whether it's because you believe that she has been despicable in the way that she treated the late Queen Elizabeth II, whether you can't stand the fact that she seems to get away with so much and isn't halted by the mainstream media. Whatever it might be, there are many of you who really do not like her because of the way that she has behaved and continues to behave. That is understandable. There are many of you who not only want to understand why she does as she does, but you want to see her gain her comeuppance. You have a sense of justice. You want that justice to be delivered against her. You want her to be found out. I've explained that there isn't going to be any great reveal from the mainstream media because they don't want to kill the golden goose. They don't want to slaughter the cash cow. This one's wife, of course, as a typical narcissist, doesn't want the skeletons being brought out of the closet. She doesn't want those secrets being unearthed. She doesn't want her repeated poor behaviours to be exposed because all of those things are threats to control, and she must nullify them. It is understandable that with an individual such as this one's wife, even though she may not impact upon you personally, that her repeated exposure is such that you really don't like her. In my recent limited series, I've explained why different classifications of people have different motivations in relation to not only creating content about her, but also commenting about her, to help you again understand perhaps your own motivations for your involvement in all of this and understanding why other people do as they do. This has been a considerable development as of late, which I can see, understanding the way that a narcissist functions, is actually proving advantageous to this one's wife. This has been the proliferation of conspiracies in relation to her. By this, I mean that there's a lot of speculative material in relation to theories behind why she does what she does. Much of this fails to abide by Occam's razor. Invariably, the simplest explanation is the most logical explanation, and that is the case with much of what this one's wife does. If you understand her narcissism, you'll understand why she does as she does. She is not this hugely manipulative, puppeteering, aware Svengali, but she manipulates on an instinctive basis. The number of mistakes she makes demonstrates that she doesn't think ahead as to what the consequences of her manipulations are. The many fuck-ups that she engages in is demonstrative of the fact that she isn't calculating in the way that some people think she is, but it is a knee-jerk response in the pursuit of the prime aims. She is not a Bond villain. The problem is that certain people have taken it upon themselves, some driven by an honest but well-intentioned pursuit of what they believe the truth to be, others, because they're simply doing it because they want to generate views and make money from it, have taken to offering rather bizarre theories in relation to this one's wife. In some instances, they seek to bend the evidence to fit with the theory. In other instances, the evidence just simply isn't there. And in such circumstances, whilst I appreciate that people are perfectly entitled to want to say whatever they want, and it's up to them what they place on their channels, after all, it's their channels, I'm sounding a note of caution from somebody who understands the mindset of the narcissist. The reason for this is that by continuing to come out with outlandish theories, which essentially are difficult to prove or are entirely baseless, all you're doing is playing into the hands of this one's wife. It means that those become more skeptical of the information provided by these individuals, and it will end up undoing hitherto good work. It also places a weapon in the hands of this one's wife, for she can, where these instances are baseless and speculative, take steps to have those people dealt with by way of demonetization and silencing them. Whilst this is intrinsically unfair, the fact is, if they are unable to provide coherent evidence to those arbiters as to what they're stating, then this plays into what this one's wife wants, the nullification of these threats to control. It also, as I've explained previously when I have highlighted some of the more ridiculous videos that exist out there, created by clickbait farms, that this behaviour is dangerous because it means that this one's wife can point, this is clearly a lie, this is clearly a lie, this is clearly a lie. And an objective individual looking at those videos will go, yes, it's completely made up, that didn't happen. And remember, with this one's wife, what she will also do, because of her skewed perspective, will see instances where what is actually true, but criticises her, she will regard that as a lie also. Where it is in shades of grey, similarly, it is a criticism of her, she will regard that as untrue. So not only will she be moved to point out to these decision makers and arbiters that, and that are all clear lies, but this, and this are lies also. And as I've explained before, the risk is that with these clickbait farms, they're polluting the evidence to the extent that it makes it far easier to this one's wife to then extend the suggestion that she's being lied about to circumstances where actually people are telling the truth about her, but it might be a little bit more difficult to prove. That the individuals who have undertaken sterling investigative work run the risk of undoing that work with the more outlandish claims that are starting to be made. And because I understand the way that this one's wife functions, she will seize on that, not only to elicit sympathy, but to support her agenda that she is victimized and picked on unnecessarily. And unfortunately, if this keeps happening, there will be people who are in a position of power who will believe her, and these accounts will start to be closed down. And the good work that some of them have done, not all of them, but some of them have done, will then be undone. It is also not sensible to do this because it's actually unnecessary. I understand that there will be people who are saying, well, no, I believe this theory and it needs to be unearthed. If that is your belief, so be it. But you really ought to apply some critical thinking to them to see that in many instances, certain individuals are generating these things either because of their own agendas, either because they have a skewed perspective themselves, and in some instances it's simply being done to try and generate money through views. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous for the reasons that I've advanced, but it's also completely unnecessary. Why? Because there is already plenty of evidence that people can see that is entirely believable and credible that will bring this one's wife into obscurity. Just listen to this, for example. We have numerous instances of her being caught on camera, both film and photograph, issuing the death stare. We've seen numerous instances where she has barged in front of other people, elbowed them out of the way, interrupted their handshakes, caught on camera. She has been the recipient of bullying allegations in the United Kingdom, in Australia, and now in the United States. No legal action has been taken in relation to those activities, other than perhaps threatening letters. There was the grifter comment by Bill Simmons about her and Harry, the failure of archetypes, the failure of her 40 by 40 program, the failure to provide meaningful content for Netflix. Take Meet Me at the Lake. It's over a year since they purchased the rights for that, and nothing's happened with it. Take American Riviera Orchard. It's getting on for nearly 7 months since that was first mooted as a potential lifestyle brand, and it's done nothing. There's the A-list backing off from her. There's the ostracization of both sides of the family, the Markles and the royal family. There has been the treatment of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. There's the jam scam debacle, the environmental hypocrisies, the ridiculous New York City car chase, the word salad speeches, the inappropriate comments, for example, in New York, talking about being a parent and how wonderful it is to parents who'd been bereaved, the inappropriate clothing in Nigeria and Colombia, the mic grabbing that has gone on, the rictus grin, the repeated puff pieces. And those are just a few of the many examples, and I'm sure that you can think of many, many more. Many more credible examples of evidence which she has generated that doesn't need some delving excursion trying to link various points to come up with some kind of theory or proposition, but a very simple instance of, look at this footage of her, you can see what she's done there. Keep it simple. As I have explained to many of my clients to help them deal with the narcissist in their personal lives, you give the narcissist that is less or mid-range enough rope, they will hang themselves. You don't need to go looking for outlandish conspiracies, suggestions of powerful dark figures backing them. You can just rely upon what the narcissist does. And there are years' worth of material generated by this one's wife so that she demonstrates precisely what she is, and you can see it in the press. As I explained previously, the whole thing about Pat Tillman turned the tide in the United States. She keeps fucking it up, and you don't need to queer the pitch by trying to suggest something that is either clearly not right or difficult to demonstrate, which will attract criticism. Keep it simple. Focus on what is easily provable, and not only does that enhance credibility, but it also makes it far easier for those who might have a degree of skepticism about this one's wife and whether she is a problem or not, to understand it. If you go along to somebody who is, in essence, a swing voter and start coming out with convoluted theories involving various different agencies, they're more likely to reject it because it seems implausible and may be difficult for them to understand. But if you show them repeated footage and photographs and commentary of how she behaves, they can make their own mind up far simpler, and you get more people on side to realise she is the problem. I say this not to dictate to anybody what content they should be making. That's a matter for them. But I am offering this observation as someone who understands the way that a narcissist works, that one, continuing to come out with these theories plays into her hands, and she will use it because of her victim mentality and her skewed perspective. 2, because of her narcissism being the mid-range brand, she will keep making easily provable mistakes, keep racking them up, keep waiting for them and noting and commenting about them. And this is how you will cause mainstream media and more people to realise that she is the problem. That more decision makers will see that she is the problem and back away from her. The cosmetic giants, the content creators, the studios, etc. won't want anything to do with her because they will see simple and understandable evidence generated by her own behaviour. That is the way to drive her to obscurity. But if you keep engaging in the way that some people have, it's just going to play in her hands, and then she'll get away with it. I understand narcissists. I understand the way that we function. I understand the way that this one's wife operates. And I offer this information to help you achieve what you want. Her being consigned to obscurity. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.